That was my fault.
Oh, okay. 1 second.
I was on my headset earlier and I had the volume for my mains down.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
You don't have an echo, right?
No.
Okay, cool. As long as you don't hear yourself, it works for me.
Yeah.
Now we're waiting on the Joe.
Oh man, sorry that took so long.
Oh, there he is. Maybe coming in. There he is.
On my current laptop, apparently I can't use a background, like a virtual background.
Really?
Yeah.
How interesting is that?
Yeah, I'm on a Mac, but it specifically said like the i5, whatever like the actual CPU number is for this laptop, like it listed that and said this CPU is not compatible with virtual backgrounds. I basically need a green screen to use it.
That's weird.
Yeah.
On last time.
Well, so I was using a different laptop last time. I got a new refurbished laptop like a month or so ago, and a few days ago, like a week or so ago, it blue screened of death on me. Yeah, and
Nice.
then it black screened of death on me, and it's got a 3F0 error, which is like not detecting the hard drive, and so it's like it can't even boot properly. It won't even boot to an operating system.
Oh, that's
So
what the hell?
yeah,
Take it back.
I did take it back. It's they're gonna send it back to the refurbisher, and they'll probably, the refurbishers are apparently notoriously lazy, and they'll probably just keep it and give me store credit. So I'll probably just have to buy another one from that store that we got it from.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was really weird timing because I had like just pulled the Ethernet cable out, just like yanked it out because that shouldn't be an issue, right? And then went to the bathroom and came back and it was blue screened on me. Just like in that few seconds in between happening to pull the Ethernet and me coming back from the bathroom, it was already blue screening, showing like a 0x, 4 zeros, and then a 14xc was like the specific error. And then when I tried to like fiddle with it a bit and restart it, it was then just black screening and would not even detect the hard drive.
Wow.
Oh boy.
It's crazy, man. So you can't even pretend to be somewhere else anymore. God.
It was a bad day, man. That was really lame. We just got the fucking laptop, but like whatever.
Well, I mean, you'll get another one at least, right?
Yeah, just my technology situation is just horrendous right now.
Where'd you get the
Yeah.
laptop from? Was it like internet thing or?
It was a store called like Canadian Computers or something. It's like an actual store, but they do sell refurbished things. And we had bought it, walked over to the store and picked it up, and it worked fine and great up until it didn't.
It's like, that's funny. I know who they are. So.
Oh, really? You recognize the name? Yeah.
I have other friends in Canada, but it's like, yeah, when we were talking about the switches and stuff in somebody else's Discord the other night with the keyboards, and I think I think I know one of them is, because one of them's the guy that lives in Hamilton, but the other guy I think was from Canada too, because that's the name that they kept like, oh yeah, go down to Canadian Computers or something and try them out. You really got to get a feel for them. It's like, yeah, I know that name now.
Yeah, I mean, they're a good store, you know. They technically don't do the refurbishing themselves, so they're not really the ones to blame, I guess. Like, what a weird issue. Part of me, my paranoid self, wants to like wonder if it's ransomware or something somehow infected my computer, because it was really weirdly timed with disconnecting from the internet, you know.
Yeah.
Could just be purely coincidental though, which like
Yeah,
I told.
Ransomware generally gives you a prompt to restore with the code, right? I mean,
Yeah, but that
This
should
just kind
be.
of died on you.
$500 to get your computer back. Yeah.
I mean, unless the company is doing ransomware on you, I mean, but it doesn't make much sense, so.
Well, I mean, who knows how different ransomware works? I certainly don't know every piece of ransomware.
Could be
out there.
malware. I would agree with that, maybe.
Well, ransomware is a type of malware. Malware is like a catch-all term, but like I say that because it seemed really tied to the internet, access, and I would imagine I understand what you're saying about ransomware. They give you the ransom, but I'm wondering if me abruptly losing all internet connection could have somehow triggered the kill switch part of the ransomware. So they didn't give me the ransom, they just did the end effect, maybe. But pure speculation, I would not bet money.
Maybe, but here's another thought.
There.
Maybe it was whoever had the computer before you,
Or whatever.
And it was refurbished, right?
Yeah, and they could have even put in, when they did the refurbishing, they could have just swapped in some other hard drive that the hard drive itself is just corrupted. That's probably the parsimonious explanation, probably just a fucked up hard drive.
I see Joe still in Alaska. He hasn't left.
Yeah. I like the pretty lights,
Yeah. I had to take a trip to Mos Eisley.
I see.
Somebody told me I can get a good deal on a T14 hyperdrive, but everybody's sold out here. Oh well. Just a different man.
Apparently there was like a big solar flare like a week ago or so. The aurora reminded me.
Oh. I was like, where are we going?
but you know what was weird is right when the like news was like talking about that, here we had like network wide or like a local area wide like outage of internet right around noon 2 days in a row. Like I called them up and everything. And so kind of what I'm hinting at here is I'm wondering if the solar flare had an effect on like our internet service providers in this area for us to have outages both of those days right when the solar flare was supposedly happening.
Sure, it wasn't
right at midday.
When they do the service shutdowns or whatever, when they got to do like maintenance. Because I mean, I would figure that noontime probably isn't a heavy traffic time for a lot of people.
I would disagree because
No,
that's a lot
I
of
think I
business being
disagree.
done.
Yeah. The ideal time is like very early morning, actually.
Probably, yeah, like 4 in the morning, yeah.
On the weekend, to be
I'm
specific.
still up at 4 in the morning. What are you talking about?
But you're one person. We're not
Yeah,
talking about a whole
I
city.
think most people are not us, Rob.
But they have like one guy that's just like looking at Rob's internet usage, just like this guy uses a fuck ton of internet at 4 in the morning. So we got to know to like make sure he's got his internet at 4 in the morning.
Dedicated
Everybody else
servers.
is playing COD with, yeah.
They have a COD server just for internet access. Yeah.
While I was waiting, you guys are getting set up. I saw a meme in another Discord that every time I never remember this until I see a meme about it, which is not all that often. But you ever what is it called? The Dinosaur Earth Society. You ever hear about them? No.
Can't say I have.
I can't say I have.
I don't know like a whole lot about like where they came from, but it was like, you know how the Flat Earth Society, right?
Yeah.
Well, like back in, I guess, 2017, maybe, there was like a meme that somebody had like joined one of their Discord servers, and eventually he just wanted to find out like, I guess, information about why they believe that. And he said eventually he couldn't help it, and he like dropped a meme in there. And you ever seen the meme that shows like the flat earth and the asteroid coming toward it, and then like it kind of just spins it like a top on end, and the dinosaurs just fly off into space?
Can't say I've seen that either.
But I don't know if that's where this came from, but I know the Dinosaur Society, I've known about their existence since like 2019, I guess. But
so my first impression of going to the dinosaurEarthSociety.com It seems like it's like a parody organization of like the Flat
Flat
Earth
Earth
Society,
Society. Maybe.
where their shtick is it's not a flat Earth, it's not a globe-shaped Earth, it's an Earth that looks like a raptor.
Yeah. It's a raptor. Yeah. I mean, it's hilarious, but if you go on their website, like they have like a whole like about section. It's funny. But anyway, no, I posted that original meme in Discord, but yeah, that was the first one, was the original one with the dinosaurs just like flying off the earth. But then the second one was what I found in somebody else's Discord, and I just thought that was freaking hilarious. It's just like they commented to a thing about the Flat Earth Society, and it was just like, oh, the what is it? Oh, you Dinosaur Earth or whatever is more true because we can prove the Earth's not flat.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a completely off thing, but yeah, I don't hear about them all that much, but it's just funny when I'm like, I know what that is. It's funny.
There's more evidence that the Earth is dinosaur shaped than there is that it is flat shaped, for sure.
Yeah. Like, I just find it amusing. Apparently they got married to Wendys or something. Dinosaur Society got married to Wendys at some point.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. There's some other meme of the Wendys character, the Wendy character, or whatever, riding on the back of the Velociraptor Earth.
Man, the internet is a weird place.
Yes, it is. I'm subscribed to their Twitter, but that's about it. Because every once in a while there's shit like this. It's just funny.
Oh, so I got a picture to send y'all. Tie this back to like our very first episode. You remember the Cheetos?
Yes.
The cheese dust and all? Well, if you look at the picture I sent right above the Cheetos,
yeah,
there is 5 just packets of flavor for mac and cheese. So let me read them off. We've got all your favorites. We got jalapeno, we got butter chicken, we got poutine, we got buffalo wings, and then we got everyone's favorite, cotton candy.
Cotton candy, mac and cheese. Hell yeah. Let's go.
What is happening? What even is that?
No.
Who wants that?
Like I do now.
Rob wants to try it now. Yeah.
I would have had no idea, and it would have been fine. But
I mean, it's only $1.29 Canadian. That's like $1 American right there.
Yeah.
How much is it to ship it here?
Oh, that's a good question. That'd be like $12.
It's not worth it. It's more than what the damn things cost. That's for damn sure.
Man, like I get that they're going for like a color spectrum. They got the green, the yellow, the red, and the orange. They're like, we need like a pink one.
Cotton candy, that works. Couldn't have done bubble gum. It just had to be cotton candy.
Like
watermelon, cherry.
The idea of sweet pasta is just, I can't wrap my mind around that.
I don't know.
There's some spaghetti sauce that kind of has a sweet flavor to it.
Yeah, but it's like a little sweet with a lot of savory, right? But cotton candy is a lot of sweet with no savory. Like,
you should try it. Be our guinea pig, Scott. Come on.
Yeah. Is there even any cheese in it? I didn't really look at it closely enough in the store.
No, you gotta like read the ingredients on the back.
Because otherwise,
cheese in here.
Otherwise, it's just like fun dip, right? You could just put it,
dip the noodles in.
Just have like a spaghetti stick. It's like not even cooked. Just.
No, not giving a fuck.
Did you not pick it up? Feel if it's liquid or powder?
It was powder. I picked it up. I did not look at the ingredients though.
Yeah. Oh well. Now I'm gonna be on a hunt for that stuff here.
Yeah, we got the good stuff in Canada up here.
I was gonna say, I'm like, it's in Canada. I mean, it's like absolutely ridiculous. It has to be here.
I mean,
it has to be here.
I don't know, man. Weed is legal here. We got socialized medicine here, and we got fucking KD. Like, I think there's probably a direct
Apparently it's
relation.
from Kraft. I mean,
Yeah,
Yep.
but
pumpkin spice.
pumpkin spice?
They have a pumpkin spice apparently.
No, they've got other flavors.
No.
They've got a pumpkin spice flavor for mac and cheese. What are they doing?
It's
And a ghost pepper. It looks like that's all according to the website that I'm looking at.
They should have just stopped at their funny shaped noodles. They have gone too far. This is too far.
Can't take it anymore.
But I mean, in a country where weed is legalized, I guess that makes sense.
You have some crazy shit.
There you go. So what else happened? The Olympics started. Well, I guess
yeah.
the ceremony was this past weekend, right? Or this weekend, right?
Apparently Apparently that stuff is fairly recent too. Because I'm looking at an article, Kraft Dinner just released Insane Flavor Boost, dated June 24th this year.
It's okay, Joe. I'm pretty sure you can just get it on Amazon. It'd be all right.
No, I was just looking into it. That's all.
Man, that stuff's fresh from the factory then.
Not really. But I don't know how big of a deal this was, but I guess a lot of people noticed that during the opening ceremony when they had like all the people walking in, I guess for the Olympics, they were playing anime themes.
Okay.
They had, what was it? I know Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest themes were on there, and there was like quite a few others, which I just thought was interesting.
Just like the music?
Yeah, it was the theme music from the games.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I think most of these were games because Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, I said Dragon Quest. Yeah, I was like that was interesting. And then apparently they were also holding like where they have the things with the country's name on them or whatever. They were like designed like manga panels. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. So there's that. Although that I'm pretty sure that the Olympics are going to be shut down here in a week or two. I don't even know.
With the Delta strain on the rise?
Yeah. Well, they've already of course, with the Olympics have already started before they do the opening ceremony because they got a lot of the elimination stuff for like the pre-qual stuff to get out of the way. But they were already having problems with the coronavirus. And I guess that Delta thing is the new strand.
Variant, yeah.
Yeah, apparently they're already having issues with it. So, and the director of it, I guess, the director of it was fired like right before it started, after he's like done all the work and everything already, like leading up to this. I don't know, some former comedian, how he ended up being like I guess it's the director of the Olympics. But yeah, apparently during a comedy stand-up thing in like '98, he said some disparaging things. I'm like, okay. Why in the world a comedian is the director of the Olympics? I have no idea, but hey, whatever. Such is life. Hubble telescope's working again.
Ah, yes. They fixed the computer.
Yep.
Well, actually, they're using the backup computer, from what they said, or from what I read.
From what I didn't follow up the most recent updates on it, but what I could gather was they tried going to the backups and they weren't working, but maybe they kept trying and they got, because there's like multiple backups. I forget, there's like 5 or 6 or something like that. There's definitely many redundancies, so maybe they got one of the systems to work finally again.
Yeah, and I don't know the details. All I do know is the article I read said that they actually are working through one of the backups right now. So
they must have, because they didn't do a mission to go there, you know.
Yeah,
that would take a lot longer.
Astronaut Bezos, he was just up there, right?
Who? Who is this person you're referring to?
We dare not say his name. I mean,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The guy that technically went into space and then everyone wanted to move like space 10 miles higher. Like, what? I guess technically space is like 52 miles above the Earth or something. And then after he went up and like hit that, they were like, oh no, it's 62. Some shit.
No, like it is like a thing that different organizations kind of agree on different where space begins, you know. And he is an astronaut by all like NASA standards and all technically. But man, fuck that guy. Like, I don't know. There was a lot of stuff coming out about how he was like tweeting about that, like to his employees and stuff, saying that it wouldn't be possible without them. Yet people were like retweeting about how they have like timed bathroom breaks, like they can't take more than a certain amount of time on their bathroom breaks and stuff.
Because he really needed to go to space.
Apparently.
He's absolutely right. It would not have been possible without them. But get back to work.
Yeah, get back. Yeah. Or what are you doing?
I'm not
on
paying
Twitter?
you to stand here and listen to me, damn it.
Anybody that responded or retweeted that during work hours got fired the next day.
God damn. Yeah.
Welcome to Technically Correct, everybody. I am Rob. I am joined by my two co-hosts as usual, Scott and Joe. Top and bottom, because I haven't moved myself around yet.
Did you change the name of the podcast to Technically Correct?
No, you just said it wrong. I wasn't gonna say anything.
Okay, I was like, fuck, man, now we gotta be all like correct now?
Oh,
damn it.
Did I say correct? I thought I said incorrect.
You probably said incorrect. It might have just blipped the sound a bit.
Okay, well maybe. It's definitely technically incorrect. Don't get that wrong. We're yeah.
Don't expect any correctness here.
Exactly. Everything with a grain of salt, people, please.
Speaking of grains of salt,
there you go.
What is this?
Batteries, right? Isn't that what we were?
Oh yeah.
Or
Still talking about the the whole grid storage.
Right, but basically what you were talking about, Joe, was NAS batteries, right?
Yeah.
The NAS batteries, yeah.
NAS?
Sodium sulfur things or whatever that.
Yeah, they're sodium sulfur batteries. Yeah.
Is that what the cool kids call it? NAS batteries?
Well, that's a product by NG.
It's a lingo.
By who?
Okay, little bit of history.
Make them.
The only reason I knew about NAS batteries, or what he was talking about with the sodium sulfur stuff, when I looked into it, I was like, oh, these are NAS batteries. Anyway, back in the 60s, NASA and Ford Motor Company actually went to work on these things. That's kind of when it started. And then they just kind of gave it up. And then I guess Tokyo Electric, in partnership with NGK, took that technology and made it kind of what it is now as far as the storage stuff goes. But yes, NGK, the same people that make spark plugs. However, most people don't know that NGK is purely, well, not purely, but they are a ceramics company. So makes sense. The NGK spark plugs is like one division of NGK something.
Yeah.
What are they actually called? NGK insulators. That's the actual name of the company. But anyway,
They're ceramics.
NGK has had the NAS battery systems, which are basically like the size of cargo shipping containers.
Yep.
For a while now, but I've never really looked too much into them because I knew about them and I kind of sort of know how they work, but I didn't really care because it was just weird. But apparently they're not really environmentally friendly either.
I don't know about that. I've not looked into that much.
Well, it's sodium and sulfur at extremely high temperatures. It's kind of how they work.
Like, but the environmentally friendly, is that because of sourcing like the sulfur?
Well, I'm guessing it might be what happens if one of these things like melts down, perhaps. Not 100% sure, but
yeah, I don't know, because it wouldn't be like a nuclear meltdown. Like it would stop pretty quickly because once it like cools down, which would be pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's neither one of them, either alone or together, really causes any huge negative side effect.
For the thing that came out recently, I saw that they had kind of mentioned in one article that it uses something called gallium chloride in addition to the sodium salt that they used for this sort of proof of concept in the lab. And they were saying that the gallium is kind of the limiting factor there because it's a pretty rare material. And so that would be, in this case, that would be like a not very environmentally friendly, or really not even like economically friendly material, because gallium's expensive.
Well, apparently
they do
batteries
have
themselves are supposed, I mean, I don't really know all the like the cost behind it and everything, but apparently as far as compared to lithium ion batteries, they're relatively cheap to.
They're cheap.
make.
Yeah.
Sodium's super cheap.
Yeah.
But I guess the sodium sulfur ones are like in the same category of the molten sodium umbrella of batteries. But I guess this one, what made it able to be lower temperature was, because that's kind of the big deal with this, right?
Yeah.
Joe? Like,
Yes, that is it. Yeah.
This
And
can,
up voltage a little bit.
Well, it's about the temperature
That's
and
true.
the voltage change, yes, because they're still getting a higher voltage out of a lower temperature solution, basically.
yeah, and it's
I-
closer to like,
That kind of made it, I guess, less efficient because it needed to use the power to keep it that hot. So
Sure.
lowering the temperature and not having to keep it that hot while still. See, that's what I don't. That's what,
yeah.
I mean, I guess if I actually went with took in the article, that would have been one thing. But that's not what I do here.
He's a questions guy. Yeah.
The fact that it has to be so hot to, I don't know, like over 350 degrees Celsius or something like that. The reason why it has to be that hot is so it doesn't have any degradation loss. Like there's no, like, they don't just, what's the term? Like lose power over time. Like
Yeah,
just
because of how the chemistry works, because it's using like salt replacement chemistry, and
But didn't that have something to do with didn't the reason why it didn't discharge over time was because it was at such a high temperature that if it went to below a certain temperature that it would start to
the chemistry won't.
leads off.
Yeah, the chemistry is not going to work at a below a certain temperature with the chemicals they're using. It needs that activation energy to be able to carry out the reaction. Whereas this, because they're using gallium chloride and sodium iodide, I think is what they said, they're able to, that interaction is actually able to happen at a much lower activation energy and therefore a much lower temperature. In this case, it was like around boiling. I think it was actually below boiling, maybe just above boiling. 230.
What's boiling?
212. I think it was like 230.
It was below then. It was like 200.
they said like 160 degrees Celsius, I thought, or maybe
230, so right at boiling.
Okay. Yeah. So, which is a lot lower than the 600 Fahrenheit or 350 Celsius that you were saying, which, you know, kind of to reiterate that point, that certainly would make it a lot less energy efficient, because heating up is a terribly inefficient process. It takes a lot of electricity to get some heat out of something.
Mm-hmm.
But what does this do to the cost of them now? What they're using a rare metal now?
They'll be able to use smaller. Well, they have replacement metals, I guess, in line, or I think they said something about it. Lower cost of the battery, which could come from replacing the gallium chloride than table salt. So it's I guess it's an equivalent to table salt, but just much more rare and expensive.
Gallium chloride, yeah, like it's like sodium chloride, except instead of sodium, it's got a gallium atom. But yeah, that gallium is what's really expensive, and they basically are saying they still need to do more studies to find if there even exists a metal that can still do that at low temperature that is readily available. Maybe aluminum will be that. I don't know. You know,
maybe we'll never
Fixed
know.
one problem and created another.
But can I just point out one thing that really gets me from the article that I read? It says that they need only about 5 to 10 more years, and then and it'll be ready to go, basically.
Commercially viable, yeah.
Yeah, that is something that is so often said, which basically means it's probably not going to happen. Like, that is such a common like ploy or thing to say, because it seems, I guess because it's like the perfect amount of time that's like feels like a long time, but it's also not that, or I guess it feels like a relatively short time, but long enough that people will forget about this once that comes around.
If somebody's not looking, nobody will notice if we miss. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a pithy way to say it. But yeah.
It's true. I mean, you do hear that a lot.
Yeah. And
I agree with you on that. It is said a lot how these companies say, oh, we're just this long from having a production stable version of this, you know, and it might not ever happen in realistic terms.
This is current technology. I mean, they do use the system. They do use sodium sulfur batteries.
Well, that's technically a different system. They're alike in that they use high temperature molten sodium salts, but they differ in all the other details, and that's where the chemistry matters.
It's a redesign. It's somebody taking current technology and going, can we make it better?
Well, that's exactly what it is.
And it's a proof of concept that it's like, hey, look, we can do this at a lower temperature. Maybe we just need to find a better material to do that. And it might not even be an elemental material. Material science is an amazingly vast field. It could be some weird graphene analog or something, you know. It could be something else.
New things are happening every day with material science. It's actually pretty crazy what they develop.
Yeah.
So we may create something that'll make it work, you know.
We just need to get what is it, the adamantium or
vibranium.
Vibranium, that's it.
Imodium.
We need vibranium. Where's Wakanda when you need it?
Yeah, for real.
As always. Come on now.
But man, yeah, just that 5 to 10 years thing always gets me. It's like, damn, they had to say that. That gives me like less confidence.
Couldn't they say we're still working on the technology and just leave it at that?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
No, because they just have to like bone the whole damn article like by just putting that at the end.
Exactly.
They have to do it to appease their shareholders, probably. We'll give you a 10-year deadline. We'll talk later about it.
Yeah. You just see that 5 to 10 years and you're like, this is a bullshit article. Might as well have been off the Onion.
Yeah.
There you go.
So did anything else happen?
New stuff to talk about? I'm sure there's stuff.
Well, Scott, you had the DeepMind.
DeepMind, the whole AlphaFold thing.
I see.
Yeah.
So.
No, I want to hear what you guys think about this. Just hearing about it.
What I know about
what is it?
DeepMind is like, I don't know. It was a while ago, but the what is it? The CAPS 14 or something?
CASP,
yeah. That whole protein deal or whatever. I don't. I'm trying to remember.
Genetic? Is it like the genetic sequencing?
Computer algorithm, whatever. For like, I don't know if it was like. I'm probably thinking of the wrong word, but.
No, you got it.
Like something with proteins, but I can't remember. It was protein something.
Sequencing. Structure. So it's basically
sequencing.
So let me just kind of give a quick little primer. This is DeepMind, which is owned by Google now. They.
How does it feel about that? Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
They created an AI program called AlphaFold, and it is a program that predicts how a protein will fold just based off the amino acid sequence, or basically just the string of letters that make up the information of what each little brick along the chain of an amino acid is. Just that string of letters, taking that and then trying to predict what it'll look like, how it will fold together. That's what AlphaFold does. And they recently have tested AlphaFold 2. You mentioned CASP. CASP with a number at the end is referring to a tournament that they have, like a competition biannually or every 2 years, and it happens on even numbered years. So in 2020, was the most recent one, CASP 14. In CASP 13 was the first time AlphaFold had made its like debut, and they won the competition that year. Then 2 years later, CASP 14, they have their AlphaFold 2, which has improved upon what AlphaFold did, and they are just kind of washing out the competition. They're like blowing them away with how much better they are doing with their protein folding predictions. But I want to kind of back up. I went on a camping trip this past weekend with a friend, and someone that she knew or in the past, she had like shared this anecdote that like someone she knew didn't really even know, they weren't like a science major or anything like that, and they didn't really know the difference between a cell and a protein, for instance. And so I kind of want to just like, I guess I kind of want to just like really get what your guys' view is, just like purely surface level of like y'all not be having any degrees in biology, you know?
or what the difference between a cell and a protein is.
I mean, if you want to tackle that,
They were like, when they were talking about like proteins and folding and shit, I'm all like, I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. So
This-
I have no idea.
I mean, I get the idea that a protein is a set of molecules arranged in a certain way, right? And proteins and amino acids are the building blocks of life. They're what create DNA, right?
that last point is, I could get really pedantic with. They don't necessarily create it, but they are, DNA and protein are really tied to both being the stuff of life. DNA is the information. It stores the information that then codes for the actual proteins that get made. But then those proteins are basically it. They're not it. There's other things. There's sugars and fats in our body, but proteins are everything from the structures of which we are made of to the enzymes that actually do chemistry for us. They are literally everything. They do everything in our body basically.
And they're part of the code of the body and how it works. That's just kind of part of how we all work.
Yeah. And knowing how they fold is immensely important because sometimes they misfold, for instance, and sometimes they misfold, and that can lead to
Mutation.
Well, that can lead to negative health outcomes. So things like Parkinson's, a lot of neurodegenerative diseases are actually problems with misfolded proteins that build up in our brain. There are other, diabetes is actually a misfolded protein. At least one of the types, if not both types, are basically because of misfolded proteins not doing their job.
When you say folded protein, I mean you're not talking about like a piece of paper folding over.
No, yeah. So if you could like basically, this is why I wanted to ask like where you guys were kind of at, because I know a lot of people haven't really taken classes that harped on it, whereas I have. And basically a protein you can think of as like a chain of a bunch of different, what they call amino acids. Each amino acid is like one little link of a chain, and that creates a whole strand of an amino acid. And that's created, like kind of how I mentioned previously, that's because of information in the genome. So you get an organism you get something called a ribosome that reads a piece of RNA that came from your genome, and then that's what tells it to spit out a protein one link at a time. It tells it which amino acid to put onto the new chain, and then once you're done with that, you've got the whole chain, but then that needs to fold up a certain way so that it can then do its job, and do like a chemistry or something. And so does that make sense so far?
No,
It does to me because I'm thinking the molecules it spits out the chain and the molecules are attracted to each other in a specific way. And when you have those misfoldings, if you will, is when they don't align the way you would expect them to align based on their attraction to each other.
Yes. So
And the very specific order that the proteins and amino acids are laid in.
Yeah, exactly. They, because of really complicated atomic forces amongst this chain,
Bringing it down
atoms.
to physics, small physical attractions.
Yes, it's in a sense, yes. That's you know, if you could run a simulation to do the physics of all of it, then that would be a good way to do it. But that would be really difficult, and it kind of feeds into something called the Levinthal's paradox. Basically, all that is the idea that any individual protein can have something like 10 to the 100 some odd conformations, on the order of like the total number of games of chess that you can play. Just like basically,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, basically almost infinite. You know, more conformations than atoms in the universe, kind of thing, for one protein. Crazy. Yeah, and
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense though, given that if you put the atoms together in a different way, you create something new. So.
But it's not even that. That's not even what it's saying. It's if you have the atoms along this chain in the same order. So you have the amino acid arginine followed by glycine followed by, you know, tryptophan, and you have that exact same strand, that it could technically move around in that many different conformations without changing any of the atoms around at all. That same molecule could do that. And the paradox comes in with the fact that as the ribosome that I mentioned earlier is spitting out this chain, it's like immediately folded up. Once it's out, it's basically done folding. And it's
the first piece comes out and it's done. It thinks it's complete almost.
Well, the process of a ribosome reading the instructions and then spitting it out is pretty fast. Like it's just spitting it out and folding, but it's like basically done once it came out. It's like within like nanoseconds. It's like incredibly fast. Yet if you just think of it like all the possible thermodynamic configurations it could take, then it would take more seconds than there are in the universe to even calculate or fathom that. But it just happens. But what's cool is this algorithm can basically take, if you give it just a strand of letters, basically that code to the amino acids, it could say, this is what we think the structure looks like. And it is really good at doing that. They put it in this number called GDT. I forget what that means off the top of my head, but basically it's a number from 0 to 100 that's, you can think of as basically a percent of how accurate that prediction was. That is to say, how close each atom was to where it should be and kind of in the range. So if you got a 0, basically none of the atoms were in the right spot by any
It was something
threshold.
Totally different.
It was literally a different protein, basically.
Yeah.
But whereas like a 90 would be like almost every atom is in its right place or you know, really close to where it should be. They are saying a lot of their predictions were within 1.5 angstroms, which is like less than an atom width, less than the width of a proton, basically. But their predictions got to.
So in turn, this does what? What does knowing this do or help with?
So it can, basically it's an immensely helpful tool for studying proteins, like to put it in the most vaguest sense of the word, but it can help expedite the process to being able to figure out what a protein does. So
we don't know that.
For a lot of proteins,
there's a lot of proteins out there, so.
Exactly, that you're getting right to the point that I wanted to hit on, is that there are a lot of fucking proteins out there. We know of over like 200 million proteins in existence. And according to our UniProt, the like protein database online, there's a few, but the most well-endowed one has about 170,000 proteins compared to the 200 million that we know are out there. And we don't know how they work, basically. We don't have structures for them, and thus we are that much further away from even getting to the function. If you can have a structure, you can start to look at that structure and see how that structure actually has little bits that are kind of familiar. They call those domains. So like each protein has multiple domains, and you might realize, oh, this one has a domain that does this type of chemistry, so it might be this type of protein. And then you can kind of work your way back towards what thing it might be creating, what enzymatic function, or what molecule it's making as its day job.
See, I liken this very much to the way DNA is actually coded, the individual sequence of letters that create the chain, which tells the cell how it's going to be written. And these are just proteins, or just amino acids attached the same way in a chain that will do a certain thing once it's done.
I mean, if you really like kind of
basic, breaking it down as to like, similarities, yeah. I guess.
Yeah, like they're both molecules. They're RNA/DNA, and proteins are both molecules. They are both what they call polymers. That is a bunch of monomers that are stuck together, and they're both in a chain-like form. And they can even both form higher order structures. So like even RNA does something called hairpinning a lot. Man, this is getting kind of technical. But we all know how like the DNA has 4 letters, right? A, T, C, G. Have we heard of?
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell? Basically, 2 of those letters can meet up with each other, and the other 2 can. G's and C's are attracted to each other. A's and T's are attracted to each other. But if you have that along one strand, if you have one that's like ATTA and the other one is TAAT, they're complementary sequences, and they can actually come together, but that's on one strand, so they form what's called a hairpin. They like literally form like a loop-de-loop in the strand, and that's actually a very important thing for RNA to be doing in the cells at times. But anyway, that's all that to say, protein also does secondary structures, and that's that's a very important part of like what goes into like predicting the actual structures of the proteins themselves.
Going back, and you'll have to excuse the ignorance on my part, because I have absolutely no idea what any of this really is about. But what you were saying about it with the maybe diseases is the wrong thing. You mentioned diabetes and something else beforehand, as this is that these misfolded proteins can cause these things. I mean, is this, and then again, to say that we don't really know what proteins do, is having the algorithm in this AI that can predict these things, does this help with I really don't know what it would help with.
Any of the conditions?
Like,
I figure eventually it's going to lead to other breakthroughs.
Or prevent them, or I don't.
Long story short, or like in the long term, yes. It's kind of like, your question is kind of like asking what is the use of genetic sequencing, It's like, there's obviously uses to it, and they use it a lot these days, and it does save lives. But thinking how just the technology of sequencing a gene, it's hard to see how that directly helps someone live longer or treat a disease, but it does.
That's what I'm wondering, is it's like, okay, well, is this just in the search to maybe figure out more about proteins themselves and what they actually do and how they work and all that jazz, or is there a medical thing down the line that they're hoping to get to by doing all this?
I mean, yes to both, actually. Like, there is prospective medical uses for it. Like, again, just understanding what goes on with the misfolding can help us to just know more about the disease and therefore potentially treat it. I am
Being
not
able to create proteins that are folded correctly might actually help with various things and help us to create other things. And I mean, asking the use of, in my opinion, asking the use of a scientific research in a lot of cases is kind of like asking the ultimate question. Well, what is any of it for? I mean, we're just exploring. That's what they're doing. How can we use this to better something or make something better? I mean, ultimately, that's all science is for, is to research and find out what can we use this for. So yeah, I absolutely believe that something will come from this. However, what it is who knows?
But a lot of things we research and look into, I mean, there is an end goal behind it, not just, more data, which I guess I guess that's what research science is, or whatnot, is just compiling data and figure out how to use it later. But
well, and this data plus this data might equal something completely different than what you were even setting out to do. I mean, that's the whole thing. You never know what's going to work with something else to create something completely new that we have no idea about.
And you point out an interesting thing with the data. This specific algorithm actually has nothing to do with gathering the data, but that has already been done. Like, we have a lot of data for genes and proteins, but we don't have a lot of data in that protein data bank that I refer to that is known protein structures.
Analyze.
And we can contribute to that with all the other data that we have and using really smart algorithms that can do that, which we could talk a little bit about, like the kind of technology that goes into it. It's a deep learning neural network that they are using to do this prediction. I don't know if we wanted to talk about that at all.
Absolutely, it gets back into more of my area.
Yeah, well, that is to say, like we've learned some cool things from this. I need to really learn more about it, because they kind of keep their cards close to their chest right now for this AlphaGo 2 or AlphaFold 2. Sorry, I had a little Freudian slip there. AlphaGo is actually also DeepMind's one of their other algorithms that is for specifically playing the game Go. Just had to clarify that. AlphaFold 2 has its own issues, because even though that data set is vast, a common issue with machine learning is something called overfitting the data, which basically means that you are really biased by your limited amount of data. And even though we have a lot of backlog of protein data, the skeptic or the bioinformatician in me wants to be like, yeah, it might be vast, but there could still be things that this algorithm is tuning into that, by the very nature of it, neural networks in general, they are black boxes. And so we can't open up the lid and see how it's making all these decisions. It could be doing some really dumb or naive things that make it really actually biased. And it's literally just kind of basing all of its studies and training lessons from the data set. But then if we give it something novel, for instance, a new sequence, it might make a wrong prediction, because it's like, oh, I've seen this before, I know what it is. But then in reality, the sequence had enough key little differences in there that the algorithm might have missed.
You might be training it wrong.
Yeah, even though,
yeah,
exactly. And there's some easy solutions for that. Like, one common reason you fit it wrong is having too small of a data set. Thankfully, it's not an issue here for most things. It kind of depends on a protein by protein basis, but it has kind of made also some larger assumptions more that deal with the protein folding itself. that applies across different proteins. But I just can't help but be like skeptical that it might have those issues. And that's kind of the real problem, is the black box thing I was mentioning. It's great. This tells us basically it got that 90 GDT, which is like 90% accurate on the protein structures, but like
it's all based on what it's being fed.
Yeah.
Well, and here's another thing too. Again, when you're working with limited data sets on any scale, you're only going to have so many outcomes that you're going to be able to predict, period. So if you're talking about having an AI analyze these things without knowing every single piece of data that there is to know, it might be missing something completely. Just like us as people, we don't know everything about this universe, about how it works. We still have questions because we don't know everything.
Hopefully,
and if it was that easy to know everything, then what would be left?
Yeah, but I'm more so saying, like, we as humans can't go back and check the work of this AI. With the nature of, so between AlphaFold 1 and 2, they tried 2 different types of neural networks, but they're both neural networks. One is called a convolutional neural network, which is referring to a convolution like for a matrix, like a math matrix. Doing a convolution is like an operation you do on that. Whereas now they've moved to a self-attention neural network. And basically what that does is it kind of allows the algorithm to kind of more focus in on the important nodes of the network, and kind of therefore use less computing power in unnecessary parts and use more computing power in the more necessary parts. So it's kind of figured out a way to improve or kind of condense doing all these computations, but it's still a black box. We can't ever peel it back and be like, oh, it's detecting these intermolecular forces and these distances between these types of things, and it's doing that. Like, we can't do that. We can't analyze how it's even doing it. So basically the best thing that this algorithm has is like, look, it can be done, but
and
I
my
can't tell you
question
how
actually,
you do it.
yeah. See, my question is exactly that. Why can we not put an output on saying every time you make a decision, tell us why? What data was used to create that decision? Why can't we do that?
Because it's smarter than us, and if we could do it, we wouldn't have the machine doing it for us.
I completely disagree. I think computers are dumb rocks.
They only know what we tell them to know. I mean,
I unplugged mine and it fucking crapped out on me, man.
Yes, you're a little bit different than an AI supercomputer, okay?
I don't know.
Slight differences there.
But
I know you might be in the realm, because I mean, you know, Amazon does own or not Google in DeepMind or whatever. Sorry. But I kind of do side on the thing, and I've said this before with Elon Musk, with these computers and whatnot, and the AI technology that keeps getting more advanced and more advanced and more advanced. We need to watch that shit. So, I have.
Yes, there are some devastating things that AI can learn.
They're
Yes,
smarter than us, or at least they can do things a fuck ton faster than us.
They're okay. See,
they would have a lot of advantages, actually.
I don't think they are smarter than us by any means at all, but they are faster than us, and they don't need to shit, piss, eat, drink,
Rest,
or anything like that, or sleep. Yeah, they don't, or have sex. They don't need to do any of that. Like, whereas like humans do. And so we can't constantly work on this one little thing. But to go back to like Joe's question, like the sort of easy out kind of answer to that is that's how neural networks are designed, man. Like, but it is like, I don't know enough about neural networks to give a good explanation as to why we can't do that, but it would be tough for, like, how would it tell us that?
What I'm saying is, why don't we program it to tell us itself? I mean, we don't have to sit there and see what is happening. Why don't we ask it, hey, tell us when you make a decision, why not? It's supposed to be an AI, right? It should
But-
be able. I mean, I understand AI is not necessarily human interaction per se, but can't they put that factor into it? I mean,
well, there are learning models that do involve a human in the loop, and they have different names for all that stuff. They have ones that are like supervised. That's called supervised learning, when you have a human in the loop, and then there's unsupervised learning. And this actual algorithm probably use some amount of both, but to I guess an easy, I don't really know, but I would guess it would kind of fetter the algorithm and thus limit it if it had to tell us and put it into a sensible way. But then that's even assuming that it can be put in a sensible way that makes sense to us as humans, because it's not doing biology. It's doing math. It's just doing a bunch of matrix like operations and just taking a bunch of huge vast sets of data, twirling that about, saying parts of that aren't important, throw those away, use these parts, and then twirl those about, and then you get like a number at the end. But then you do program it to be like, what does this number mean? Oh, it means we got this close, or it means these are where the atoms go for this protein, and then you can measure how close that is to the actual thing to test that.
I mean, I do understand what you're saying, where it's maybe not so trackable, I guess, as to what it's doing, but
because it's to definitely put it over simply, it's turning amino acids, like these atoms that are and molecules that are real world things, and turning them into ones and zeros, basically. And what the computer,
you gotta wonder how accurate that is in and of itself, right? I mean, it does seem to work, right? But what about that one time that doesn't work, we destroy ourselves, you know? Just saying.
Well, I don't think a prediction software for protein folding is going to take over the world anytime soon.
Well, I'm not saying that the software will.
Protein folding, no.
If it gives us the wrong answer, that could hurt us.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
You would be a great bioinformatician, because that is definitely something that always needs to be reiterated, is that this, like, something that got harped on to me in some of my few bioinformatics classes is that bioinformatics, using computers to do biology, is never a hypothesis concluder or a hypothesis solver. It's a hypothesis builder. It's never an end point. It is only a starting point. It can only lead you in the right direction. It can't verify. It's kind of like that old adage, trust first, then verify. Like you can, you can't ever let it be the thing that reality hinges upon, because it's not. Like, basically, science works off of empirical observations, right? Well, this algorithm is in a sense science, and it does give empirical observations, but it's empirical observations of computer science. It's not empirical observations of biology. We as humans have to reinterpret that into a biological context and then test to see if that's actually how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it should always fall back on real world studies, real world observations.
I agree. Yeah.
But you'd be amazed how many publishers of science, how many bioinformaticians get that wrong. They or don't even realize that they committed that fallacy on accident.
Because they're relying too much on the data and not enough on the testing.
Yeah. Janelle reviewed a science paper when she was still doing her postdoc that actually got another lab had her review a paper before submitting it for publication, and they had put up an image of a protein, and then they were kind of implying that protein was the actual structure, but it turns out all they had done was make a model of it. That is to say, they took templates that we do know the structure of, and then they said, well, we'll take this sequence and thread it, make it kind of match using that one as reference, using those they call it the template. You use those templates as reference and you build a model, but the model is never a real thing. It's a copy of a real thing, basically. And someone tried to kind of pass that off as the real thing. Not nefariously, not intentionally. It was just kind of like an easy, simple mix-up. But that shit happens all the time.
Peer review, very important.
Anyway, like my mind still kind of goes full circle back to like the dude that didn't really even know the difference between a protein and a cell. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just fascinating to me because I'm so far detached from that I don't know if what I'm saying is just blathering, and you guys, like Rob, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So feel free to like point that out, because I feel like more people should kind of know some of these basics, but we're not exposed to them, I think.
No, we're not.
I don't know if basics is the word that I would use, but I mean, I agree that everybody should be more educated all the time about everything. So, yeah.
I feel like yeah, I mean, I guess we could argue over basics, but I feel like how you go from DNA to proteins is a basic of biology these days. Like it is and should be one of the first things students learn when learning biology. And I think it would be helpful if the general populace knew more about that, because then they would have less hesitancy or fear when it comes to this new mRNA vaccine that's out on the markets, like people would understand the safety of those and the efficacy and usefulness of them.
Well,
but
Google's
right. I think there's a lot more to it than just knowing the basics about being okay with that stuff. But
absolutely,
I mean, ultimately, you're right. A better understanding will help. And people, a big part of that problem, though, is that there are people that just don't care about the data. They don't think it's right. They're not going to. What we were talking about earlier, flat earthers, they just won't accept, for whatever reason, they will not accept that the planet is not flat, that the universe is not flat,
Joe, I'm warning you. Just be careful what you say about flat earthers. They got people all around the globe, okay?
I don't think I've offended them so far yet.
Man, didn't they like post that on their Twitter like a couple years ago? Didn't like the Flat Earth Society post something like what you just said, Rob? They're like
all around the planet.
Like, can you say that again but slower?
Yeah, let me guess. It was back around the 2017 when that whole thing with that guy that I was talking about in the beginning. This whole controversy about getting kicked off the thing and then getting the apology or whatever. Not really apology, but the actual Flat Earth Society or whatever, their page going, I don't see what the big deal is. We thought that meme was funny. Apparently it was a subsection.
So it was all, you're saying it was all like planned? Like they knew it was a meme, the Flat Earth Society, when they were doing it, or they're just trying to pass it off that they knew that?
No, I think that what you were saying, what you saw, what I just said, is probably because I remembered it from the same thing, but it was a tweet response to the whole mess that was going on with the guy getting kicked out of the Discord or whatever for I don't know, whatever you call that offense, making fun of the flat earthers. I have no idea. I mean, personally, I'd rather believe that the Earth is a velociraptor. That's just fun.
That is just fun.
There are those that believe it is a turtle. I mean, I've heard crazy ideas.
But what is the turtle standing on top of?
It's floating through space. Are you crazy?
No, it's turtles all the way down, right?
I always like the picture of the solar system with all the round planets and then Earth with just like the sheet of glass stuck in there. You never see.
Oh, like it's just like a flat pane of glass. Yeah.
You have a picture of the solar system and the Earth is a flat square.
Man.
Maybe they just need to turn the Hubble around and
I'm sure that's been done before, actually.
Aren't real. Yeah. Listen, it's just going to be amazing because we're not that far away from people themselves being able to go up into space. And then what are they going to do then?
They're still not going to believe. There are people that are just so stubborn. Why? Again, never mind. I'm just not.
No, you're right. I totally agree. I think you're on a roll, Joe. I don't think you should stop.
Well, I was going to say we still need to stop taking warning labels off of stuff, but I need to start taking warning labels off of stuff, but
Oh, why? Dwindle down the population a little bit?
maybe more than a little bit.
Apparently that McDonald's case is like trickier than the media made it out to be. Like,
yes, lawyers tend to do that.
What?
I said lawyers tend to do that.
Oh, but so does the media. The media needs pithy headlines and catchy, messages that might not be true, but they get people to read them.
This is absolutely true. Yeah, that happens a lot nowadays.
Now
today we call it clickbait. That's exactly what it's called.
I mean, there's clickbait and then there's propaganda, all of it is a form of propaganda, really. But I forget what the issue was with the lady, but it was like, there was a video about it, and it made it seem like she was actually very warranted in what she did, and I can't remember the details behind it. I'll have to look into that.
Is that your cat?
No idea.
Yes.
I didn't know you had a cat.
You got 2 cats. Taco and Beans.
Sound like they go good on a tortilla.
They do.
You want to put a taco on a tortilla?
You sampled some?
What?
I mean, Taco Bell has done that. Isn't that a gordita or whatever?
Yeah, something like that.
You got the soft shell around the hard shell.
With a little bit of cheese drizzled in between.
Sauce in between it.
Fucking cheesy gordita crunch.
Why are we always getting to food at the end? Like, last time we were talking
because it's food time.
All roads lead to Taco Bell.
I have. Oh
boy.
As I'm dropping stuff. Come back here. Ow. I'm just gonna kill everything now. Look, I don't know if it'll come through the thing. Nope. Nope. It's not.
Apparently that filter does not like business cards.
Oh, there you go. You got it.
$5 off on your next Taco Bell order. Woo woo.
Yes. If you can read the what they wrote on the back. It's
Supremely
sorry.
Extremely sorry.
What'd you do, Rob?
Well, I was on my way home from the office, and Cash, she was all like, "Oh, can you pick us up Taco Bell or whatever?" And I was all like, "Oh, did you place the order?" And she's all like, "No." And I was all like, "Well, never mind. I have the app. I was getting off work, so I was like, let me just order it on the app thing, right? That way I don't have to sit there and wait because it was a shit ton of food." So
I gotta sit there and wait.
I do the thing on the app. I pay for it, whatever, right? I get up to the window, and then I told them what the number was, and they're like, "All right, pull forward." Then I look at the app, and it's all like making your food. I'm like,
they don't make it until you get there. You really didn't know that?
You know that, right? I don't know, like I was 10 minutes away, so I was all like, "Yeah, let me make the order, and then that way I can just go up to the drive-thru and they can hand it to me and I can go," right? No, they didn't start making it till I was there, so it was no different than if I had ordered on the box, right? So I was like, what the hell was the point? And then they still screwed it up and gave me wrong shit. They left out one item because of course I had to pull off into the parking spot just to check and make sure everything was there. And they leave out one item, so then I have to go back through the drive-through, which I guess I probably could have got my fat ass out of the car and like walked inside. Probably would have been a little bit quicker, but not really the point. And then I asked the lady, I said, "Hey, I'm missing one of my items." She goes, "What was it?" And I'm like,
"Excuse me?
What was it? Okay, cool." I would have had no problem telling her that if I could identify anything in a Taco Bell wrapper. I couldn't do anything. Like, I looked at it and like all of them had it.
There's
chalupa.
12 items supposed to be in the bag. Just throw something.
They all were folded to the chalupa thing, and I'm just like on the tab, it's supposed to identify what it is. And then I'm like, okay, so I literally would have to unwrap this and open it up and like have all the to stare at the contents to figure out what I'm missing. And like she didn't get that. And I'm just like, she's like, oh well, this would be in this color wrapper, and this would I said, okay.
Do you
well,
have anything extra behind the counter, man?
So I'm guessing it's this one. And then she just made me 2 of each of what I could have possibly been missing.
Sweet.
And I'm like, again, not the point. So then I went on the thing and I went to Taco Bell and it was all like, you know, tell us how your visit was. Okay. And then I blasted their app and I'm like, this is so stupid. It's freaking pointless. I'm like, I could have just went to the window and have been in and out of the same amount of time. And then maybe they wouldn't have screwed up my.
I'm going to tell you right now why there's these apps. They're not for your convenience.
Yeah.
They were created for COVID-19. That's exactly what they were created for, because I can pay on the app and not have to give anybody my card.
I call the Chinese place doesn't even have an app. I call them, they'd be like, oh, 10 minute, be on it, 10 minute. Okay, cool.
I didn't say everywhere.
Any Asians out there with the accent, sorry. But I mean, you know how it goes. Everything's 10 minutes, right? So I get there and I walk in, my stuff's sitting right there. They're like, oh, you Rob? Okay, Rob, yes. Boom, things on the thing, I pay for it, I walk out. Boom, done. No app. Why do we have apps for shit that's just freaking wasting time? Like, why? I don't know. But at any rate, then 2 weeks later, they send me 2 coupons for $5 off. I'm like, gee, thanks.
Mail me one.
I mean, it's like, not even, like, I didn't even care. Like, I wasn't even really complaining. I was just letting them know.
I just want my stuff.
It's mostly about the app is fucking pointless. And I'm like, I don't even remember. I mean, I probably did tell them about, because no, I did, because I was literally waiting in the drive-through line to get my order fixed while I was doing sending them the message, sending them the email. Nice. So yeah, I probably did tell them that they screwed up my order because I probably tagged that on at the end. But yeah, it's like, all right, $5 off your next order. Cool. So it's not even a discount card because, you know, $5 at Taco Bell is a lot of damn food. I was like, so basically I have to like feed my family from Taco Bell again to even use one of these. And I'm just like, all right, whatever.
I hope they don't screw that up.
Maybe I'll use them, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do the dishes. I didn't realize it was so late.
Just tell me it's not Mr. and Mrs. Dish and we're fine.
What does that mean?
It's nothing.
I want to know.
It's from Scrubs. You wouldn't understand.
I love Scrubs. I haven't seen it in a long time though.
I don't think I've seen but like maybe 2 episodes of that ever.
It's a great show.
Thanks for tuning in to Technically Correct. We'll see you probably next week. I don't know. This is maybe next week, maybe next 2 weeks. Who knows? Whatever. Later.
Bye. You said technically correct.
Shit, I did.
Well, gotta change the podcast.
See, now you're in my head. Okay. All right, bye. Oh shit.
What